Today we shall see how to insert data into MySQL database using jQuery and PHP. jQuery has an AJAX method. We will be using the shortcut that is the post method of jQuery to implement the AJAXification of this HTML form and the insertion of user entered values into the MySQL database. I will take a form and give it an ID called myForm. See here we have taken post as the method. I'll take an input box and name it as name itself, because the user would be entering his or her name in this input box, which is a text box. The second input box will hold age of the person. Now the button to submit the data. I'll give it an ID called SUB, meaning submit. Also, let me take a span here so that I could display some information like the record was inserted or it wasn't inserted. So this is our HTML form. Now before that, I'll connect our form, that is HTML, to the database. If you don't know PHP, please visit the PHP category on our blog, that is technotip.com. This is a simple tutorial. You need not know much about PHP here, just the connection. The first line of code is connecting to the SQL server with the username root. We do not have any password, so I have left it empty. Let me run the server first. Vamp server. I'll open phpMyAdmin here. We have a database called test. I'll create a table called user with two fields in it. First one being the name, which is varchar. I'll give the length as 15. Next, age, which is an integer. A length of 3 is okay for me right now. Okay, we have a database called test, inside which we have a table called user. Now select the database test and get connected to it. I'll save it as db.php. Now the actual code to save the user entered data into the database goes here. Before that, let me connect to the database by including db.php file. So we got connected to the database test. Once the user hits the save button, the name and the age gets passed to this file using post method, which we will store inside a local variable called name. Similarly for the age. Now write a simple SQL statement, that is insertion. Insert into user is the table name. So insert into user values. Our user table has two fields in it, namely name and age, which we would pass here. The user entered name and age. Well, I'll wrap this inside a PHP function called MySQL_query, which processes this MySQL statement. I'll also check if it was successful. If the execution or the processing of this MySQL statement was successful, I'll say successfully inserted. If not, I'll say maybe like something like insertion failed. So these two things, either successfully inserted or insertion failed, will be returned to our my script, that is the script we would write next. So user hits submit, which the user entered values at his name and age would be passed to userinfo.php, which we would collect inside the local variables name and then age. And by forming a simple MySQL statement, we would execute it and insert inside the user table. Now, before proceeding, let's see how it works on our browser. Post, inside post folder. Alright, techno tip. Our company has been running for 2 years now. Hit save. See, successfully inserted message comes, but the page gets redirected to userinfo.php, which we don't want. We want to AJAXify that, which means it shouldn't get redirected. All the things should appear on the same page, that is index.php, instantly without reloading the page. Once the user hits the submit button, that is the button which has an ID called sub, we will call an anonymous function. Now, before inserting user entered values, we want to serialize these data. So I'll serialize the data and store it inside a local variable called data. So select our form and its input fields. Then we have a method called serialize array, which formats the input data into value, into property and value. So then select the file to which we need to pass the user entered data. We select the form and its attribute action, which has the file name to which we need to pass the user entered data. Next, the serialized data. Once this data has been sent to this file, it returns something which would be stored as info here. The output from userinfo.php after processing. So this is userinfo.php, which has these codings. After execution, it either tells successfully inserted or failed, which would be stored inside info. So using this output, we need to echo, or else we would append it to the span tag, which has an ID called result. So .html, I'll append this info variable which has the output of userinfo.php. Instead of writing this data, I'll just cut this out and paste it here to make it look compact. So ultimately you have only one line of code to learn here. And an important thing, that is, once the user hits the submit button, it shouldn't get redirected to userinfo.php file. So I'll select my form, that is the ID of the form inside our index.html, and the submit. I'll write the function and tell return 0, which means don't get redirected to any other pages once the user hits this button which has an ID sub. That's it. Now open index.php file. Satish, my name, 25 years, save. Successfully inserted. Look at the database here. Okay, it has been inserted successfully, and this file didn't get redirected to some other pages. Now the fault is my name and age is still here, which doesn't make any sense. Once the user hits the submit button, let us clear those fields. I'll write a custom function called clear input. Select the form, that is my form, and its input fields, all the input fields. So loop through each of the input field using each. Write an anonymous function and tell, and then set its value, the input box being looped, that is being iterated now, which is being selected, its value should be nothing, which makes it clear, that is empty. Now once you write it, call this clear input function inside this submit or inside here click. So for the click event of the button, call clear input. Let's look at it. I'll say Shweta, 24 years of age, save. Successfully inserted and the box has been cleared. Okay, practice this. For next videos, we will show how to retrieve the data from the database using JSON, that is JavaScript object notation. It would be more interesting, and learning insertion and extraction of data from the database would make all the fun and make your applications like desktop application. So please share this video with your friends on Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Also email your friends about technotip.com. Please keep subscribed to technotip.com and to our YouTube channel. Also like this video on YouTube.